It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, cover breaking news, culture, magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Today is a historic day. Bitcoin is officially trading on Wall Street. If you're a boomer, you can get exposure. We're going to get into the details. In fact, a lot of brokerages are still, even though it's trading now, they're still not offering it to their clients. So we'll break down all the details of all that. But the thing that I really wanted to focus on today, like the theme of today's episode, is Bitcoin's irresistible incentives. The Trojan horse was just let in. I tweeted out as a meme earlier this morning, and I put, the Trojan horse from the movie Troy. I put laser eyes, and it's a testament to Bitcoin's incentives and Bitcoin's irresistible incentives. We've seen this many times. We saw this with the China ban. I think that was like crazy what happened. Nation state attack. The hash rate dropped by like 50%. I believe it's the reason that the last bull market was, we didn't hit 100K. And within 9 months, the hash rate distributed all around the world without a central authority dictating the miners to go everywhere. It was Bitcoin's incentives alone. And once again, what you're seeing is Bitcoin's incentives capture firms like BlackRock that, with their ESG movements and all that stuff and their association with the World Economic Forum, you think like this is an evil institution, but they can't resist it. It's the greed. And that greed was able to overcome the government bureaucracy that did not want this to get approved. Like the approval letter from Gary Gensler, he sounded so salty. And other members that were sitting on the SEC, commission, if they were just like, I can't believe this got accepted. Like Elizabeth Warren, I made another meme. I made another meme yesterday of, you guys all know this. Guys, we're apolitical. We don't lean left or right, Republican or Democrat. We stand for the party of orange. You guys know the deal. But there's that very famous video of, this lady melting down at the Trump inauguration. And I put, breaking Elizabeth Warren, and the thing blew up. I can't even imagine what Elizabeth Warren is thinking right now. The Trojan horse just got let inside into Troy. They don't know. They have no idea. And Alex Gladstein really wrote this amazing article for Bitcoin Magazine called "Bitcoin is a Trojan Horse for Freedom." And in that article, he talks about how dictators, institutions, banks, central banks, they can't resist Bitcoin's incentives. But what they don't know, what they fail to understand, is that number go up technology and freedom enabling technology are inextricably linked. You cannot separate the two, right? So this is a crazy time to be alive. But at the same time, guys, I've said this many times, this might be positive for the price, even though as of now, you could make the argument that it was a sell the news event. But it could be positive for the price. In fact, I do think it's going to be positive for the price over the long term. But it's important to remember that the revolution here is Bitcoin and self-custody. It's individuals taking custody of their wealth. Therefore, by doing that, taking back their financial sovereignty rather than outsourcing it to a bank. There's this really famous expression on Bitcoin Twitter, which is when you have a bank account, really it's a 2 of 3 multi-sig, of which you hold one key, the bank holds another key, and then the state holds another key. So it's really about taking control back of your financial future. So as the ETF hype, I think it reached a pinnacle. This thing's approved. It's done and dusted. It's important to remember that. Another thing that I also wanted to talk about on today's episode is there's a very famous space. I think it was a couple years ago. It was like 2021 or 2020. And Michael Saylor in that space said that there was 3 things that needed to happen in order for Bitcoin to reach $5 million per coin. And those 3 things were a spot Bitcoin ETF approval, the FASB accounting rules change, and also the third thing was for banks, large banks, to have the ability and the regulatory approval to custody Bitcoin for clients. All of those 3 things have happened. So we are, all the 3 things that Michael Saylor said needed to happen have happened for Bitcoin to hit $5 million per coin. It sounds so unfeasible at this moment. You're like, Nico, that's impossible. That's a ridiculously high number. But I ask you to look back in the past. 10 years ago, Bitcoin was trading at $100. We're at $40,000. So where is Bitcoin going to be 10 years from now? Something that has absolute scarcity. Nothing in the world has that, right? If the price of gold goes up, gold production goes up with it, right? If the price of Bitcoin goes up, there's a halving every 4 years, baby. That production stays the same. It is what it is. And never have we ever seen that in mankind's history. So I'm beyond excited. It's an honor to ride this with you guys. Looking forward to today's episode. All right, enough with the monologue. I do want to bring up my legendary co-host. He's always optimistic. He has a giant smile on his face. His name is The Optimus Fields. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's a very historic day. And Nico, you asked a question of what you think Elizabeth Warren is thinking right now. Well, this is Better Markets, an NGO, I believe they'd call it. That is, nonprofit. Promoting economic security that is aligned with Elizabeth Warren. And this tweet came out yesterday. So the SEC Gov's action today has changed nothing about this worthless financial product, aka Bitcoin, and crypto still have no legitimate use. Remain the preferred product of speculators, gamblers, predators, and criminals, and continue to be cesspools of fraud, manipulation, and criminality. So just love to see that she is digging her heels in there. So are we surprised? Anyways, on a totally other topic, we're seeing that, of course, the banks and the holdouts, the no coiners out there, they still feel the same way. They still feel self-righteous about Bitcoin. And it's only a matter of time until more and more people wake up to Bitcoin actually being the economic freedom tool that it is. Did you see the Digiconomist tweet, Nico? What's his name? Stephen Deal.
You got to pull these up, brother.
Yeah, maybe I can find real quick. But Stephen Deal, if you guys don't know who he is, he's been quoted a lot of times on legacy media about just he's basically like the guy. Oh man, no, this is the wrong one. He's the guy that's always quoted for all the negatives in Bitcoin. His research, quote unquote, has been used, and he's basically saying the same thing. He said something on the lines that like Bitcoin is a tool of tyranny and fiat money is a real tool of progress and prosperity in the future. So I'll try to pull that up for you guys throughout the show.
So we'll get to that. Also, Phil C has a really important point, which is listen to this. Some asset managers, compliance departments like Merrill Lynch are not letting their clients buy the Bitcoin ETFs. SEC approved product. So we'll get to that. There's a reason for that.
Vanguard.
Just hold your horses. We did the research for you guys. That's why you guys tune into Simply Bitcoin.
Yeah. And then the culture, Nico.
So we'll get into all that.
We're going to get into, I guess, a lot of ETF stuff today. Nico's going to cover all the ETF news for you. And then I'm going to kind of cover more of like the framing and what you guys can do as individuals out there. So it's an ETF packed show today. Try to give you guys as much sauce on today's show as possible. So this is going to be a good one.
100%. It's going to be a great show. All right, guys, buckle up. Let's start the show. Let's hit the numbers. Let's do this.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, guys, I made it incredibly easy for you guys in these moments, right, where, you know, we have Wall Street coming in, offering these ETF products. It's never been so important to take self-custody of your Bitcoin. And you have to do it properly. Self-custody takes personal responsibility. Not only does it take a badass hardware wallet, but you got to back up those seed words properly. So you don't want to use paper. You want to use titanium. You don't want to just use any metal. You want to use titanium. We obviously recommend our sponsor, Stampseed. By the way, you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the Stampseed store. So scan the QR code, check the link in the video description. It will take you directly to the Stampseed website. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 45,830. Sats per dollar, 2,182. Market cap, $898 billion. Decline from all-time high, 33.5%. Days since all-time high, 791 days. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.69%. Supply of Bitcoin held in corporate treasuries, around 10%. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,798 Bitcoin. Block height, 825,343. The block height makes an all-time high every single show. So
wait,
we're gonna
Nico, before you go into this, I found the tweet. Let's I'm
gonna get to that.
You have this tweet? Okay,
that's part of the numbers, brother.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I got you. But good look. We're in sync today, brother. We're in sync. We're in sync. That's
so you saw the tweet. You saw the tweet.
I just didn't know who you're referring to, but that's literally what I'm gonna make the numbers section about today. Cool. So awesome. Okay, we're in sync. Holy crap. Opti and I have been doing this so long. We're just, you know, all of a sudden he's gonna be growing a blonde tip. Okay. No. Anyways, no. Okay. All right. So these Wall Street just keeps making commercials about Bitcoin, which is just crazy. Guys, I want to take. I want to make Opti and I, just screen before we get to the sauce. Okay. Congratulations, everybody. If you have bought Bitcoin before January 11th of 2023, you ran Wall Street.
Yes.
Front ran. I'm creating a word, I guess.
I created it.
But there you go. So congratulations. You did it. Today, I saw a lot of people talking about this on Twitter. Today was Bitcoin's IPO, but there are no insiders, right? There's no people that are just going to dump it. And the Bitcoin that there is to buy, I think it's like 2 million on exchanges, right? The hodlers are not selling that. I don't know about you guys, bro, but when Bitcoin hits $1 million a coin, people are gonna be like, you're gonna sell it? I'm like, sell it to what? Like, that's the question. It's like when people ask you, are you gonna sell your Bitcoin? What are you gonna sell it for? Like dollars? Like is that what you mean? Like, no, man. Okay. Anyways, back to this. So Wall Street keeps releasing commercials. This is the latest one. This is from Grayscale.
Diversifying into Bitcoin? Type GBTC into your investment account today, or ask your financial advisor about the world's largest Bitcoin ETF. Ticker GBTC. Bitcoin investing begins here.
I think that's like the worst one.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Did you see the Vanek one?
Yeah, let's pull it up.
I got it right here. Here, I got it. Let me pull it up.
All right.
This one's actually this one seems better to me. All right, let's start this.
The world holds on to old ways until it can't. When Bitcoin was born, it broke that endless cycle. It's not a defiance of finance. Bitcoin may help guard against the government devaluing your money. Finally, You can buy and hold Bitcoin in an ETF with the VanEck Bitcoin Trust, HODL. Search the ticker HODL in your stock trading app today.
That one's way better,
dude. That one, I like that, like, because they understood a lot of like.
Well, VanEck, yeah, they're Bitcoiners.
Like they understand a lot of the like kind of like Bitcoin culture and all that stuff.
Wait, but also,
really
Nika, did you see the BlackRock one?
I did not see it. Pull
Okay,
it up.
I got you, bro.
Pull it up. Pull it up. I was
you.
gonna. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, you do your bit after. Let's just play all of these. Let's see Wall Street pumping our bags. This one's a little longer though, guys. But not as good as the VanEck.
Digital asset adoption has significantly accelerated over the past decade, with profound implications for the future of finance. Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency to gain global adoption and has continued to maintain its dominance despite thousands of others coming into existence. You might have noticed Bitcoin make its way into our everyday lives, from Bitcoin ATMs to various merchants accepting Bitcoin as payment, further driving interest in what the future holds for the cryptocurrency. Investors have taken notice, as institutions and individual investors alike have been adopting Bitcoin into their investment portfolios, with some viewing it as a potential store of value and others as a potential game changer in how money moves around the world. But for many investors, holding Bitcoin directly can be complex. That's why we launched IBIT, the iShares Bitcoin Trust, an ETF that provides investors convenient exposure to Bitcoin. Here are 3 things to know about IBIT. Access. IBIT enables investors to access Bitcoin within a traditional brokerage account, just like stocks, bonds, and other ETFs. Convenience. IBIT can help remove operational burdens associated with trading and holding Bitcoin directly, as well as potentially high trading costs and tax reporting complexities. Quality. IBIT is built by BlackRock, a leading ETF firm with expertise across ETFs and a history of innovation.
Okay,
I can't take this anymore.
You had to wait for that, like, number 3
Didn't
quality.
we like talking about it in the internal Slack? Like,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
we make better content than BlackRock. Oh man. All right. Okay. So back to what we were talking about during the numbers segment. So yeah. So Wall Street is just like dropping like these crazy commercials. It's incredible. It's really awesome. But in other news, I kind of want to shift it because there's other stuff that's happening, which is the haters are coming out of the woodwork. First of all, I do want to start it off with the meme. Elizabeth Warren, this is a live view of her yesterday when the ETF got approved. We know that she was colluding with Gary Gensler. Shout out to Fox News for doing amazing reporting and discovering that. Don't trust, verify, guys. Don't take my word for it. Literally, it came out that Elizabeth Warren was sending Gary Gensler the questions before he would testify in Congress. But this is Stefan, and he says
Stefan Deal. I think he goes by it's like Digiconomist or something. He's quoted in pretty much all of the research that corporate press and mainstream propaganda use to FUD Bitcoin.
And you'll see something. You'll see once again the ratio, and this is the power of the internet, guys. You take agency, take action. If you have a Twitter account, if you have a YouTube channel, speak up, say something. The internet has empowered you to circumvent the gatekeepers of information. You now have a voice and you can make your thoughts known. And again, like if you're not speaking truth on the internet, you're going to get eaten alive. And that's exactly what just happened here. So he says Bitcoin represents serfdom, stagnation, subjugation to the tyranny of the discredited ideas from the Middle Ages. Fiat money represents a future of growth, sovereignty, and freedom in an advanced information economy. He has that like completely effing backwards. I think this is a projection. I think that he truly believes that, centralized control of money will be better for humanity than Bitcoin. And he really reveals something when he says discredited ideas from the Middle Ages. It's like if money can exist, of which they can't debase, of which the government just can't print at their will, that's a nightmare for the central planners. Like, I'll be honest with you. So a bit of projection here. And this is the last thing that I wanted to cover during the numbers segment, which is a lot of people said a bunch of stuff, and the European Central Bank said the digital euro is public money issued directly by the European Central Bank. Bitcoin is different. It is a speculative asset that does not fulfill the characteristics of money. So you can kind of connect these two in terms of the logic on which they're thinking. And it's basically like we can do your money better than you could do it for, like, we can do money better. Like, as long as you give us total control, we know what's best for you, you stupid peasant, basically. So, and it goes on to say, Bitcoin is different, is a speculative asset that does not fulfill the characteristics of money. I go on to respond, which is the truth, right? And shout out Sophie for giving me a like and pushing that over 300. And it's a nice, and I responded, I said, Bitcoin is a public ledger that can be audited by anyone. Anyone can get new Bitcoin by mining it. The public cannot audit the ECB. Only the ECB can create new euros. Bitcoin is public money for the people. The euro is government money for the government. So when you see comments like this, and when you see comments like this from the European Central Bank, they're statists, and statists believe that the state can do it better, right? Bitcoin is the public money, and that's one of their talking points. And remember, like, if you're not educated on the matter, if you are not informed, you will fall for that. Don't allow them to capture that argument and that narrative that Bitcoin somehow is private money. I broke it down. You can't make more euros without going to jail. You can't audit the European Central Bank. You can't audit any central bank. They'll laugh at you. You can run a node right now. We recommend, by the way, Start9. They have a deal right now. You can check the details in the video description. And you can run a node. You can buy one pre-built. I have the Start9 server pure. It's badass. Highly recommend it. It's a workhorse. Or you can build one yourself. You could download the Start9 software on an old computer or something and run a node. And you can audit the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain, the Bitcoin network whenever you want. You can find out the total supply whenever you want. You're not trusting anyone else. It is you're running your own version of the Bitcoin software. And so that's one component. The other component is like, okay, guess what? They're saying it's public money. You can't create more euros. You can't create fiat money. Only the government has that privilege to do that. If you invest in mining infrastructure, you can literally start mining and making more brand new minted money. And check this out. There's no special privileges. So if you're a government, a king, an emperor, you have to get in line like everybody else and invest in mining infrastructure if you want to mine more Bitcoin. You don't have the privilege of being able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. So, like, no, fiat money is the private money. Fiat money is the special privileged money. Bitcoin is the money for the people, by the people. That is the reality, central bankers. So don't allow them to take this narrative and don't allow them to, stand on their high horses and try to dictate you and tell you. Because whether it's Stefan or whether it's the European Central Bank, you have to understand why they're saying the things they're saying. And they fundamentally believe that they know what's best for you. That's what they're telling you. Not directly, maybe, but if you read in between the lines and you really understand what it is they're saying, that's what they're saying. And I don't know about you guys, but I think millions upon millions of individuals making their own decisions about their lives, about what information they want to consume, about what money they want to use, rather than a group of elitist central planners. My money is upon millions of individuals making individual decisions, right? That's literally the basis of capitalism, right? So this is the death of central planning. And I think these central planners are absolutely terrified. And I think that's why they're saying shit like this, Opti. What are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I mean, You know, we say all the time, we know our bias. Of course, we think Bitcoin is going up. We believe in the 21 million hard cap. Not only believe, we run the nodes and we verify and confirm that there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And if you don't understand the mechanisms of fiat money, if you don't know how fiat money is created, literally printing money out of thin air based on debt, and you don't understand the Cantillon effect, like you can see how easily someone can gaslight you into not understanding the mechanisms of our current Keynesian economy. And if you're like an average person that just looks at things on a very surface level, you probably would believe what like Stephen Deal is saying or Elizabeth Warren is saying. Or we saw one of the SEC, I forget what her name was. It's like Caroline Crenshaw or what her position is. She came out super hard against Bitcoin and was saying that, you know, the complete opposite of what Gary Gensler's trying to do. Like, again, the same things, like it's for criminals, money launderers.
Oh, we're going to get to that. I have all the receipts. I have all the receipts in the news segment.
And you could just see like, and you called him statist, and it's so obvious once you understand what's going on. Like all these people, and the majority of people would probably fall into the trap of believing that the sole person to create money should be the government. When if you study any basics amount of Austrian economics, you realize that, hey, a money not controlled by a specific government would benefit the most people. And it's very hilarious in my opinion.
It's above that, dude. Listen, okay, because we have to be fair. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Government, it's true. You know, a government and democracy is a true representation of the people. Therefore, they have the sole right and the privilege to be able the ones to control monetary policy. Right? That's the theory. Right? How has that worked out? It's been excuse my language. I'm sorry, guys. It's been an absolute fucking disaster. Endless wars. If you are a millennial, I'll say this. If you're under the age of 35, you cannot afford anything. You're outpriced out of the housing market. Thank God for Bitcoin. Like if it wasn't for Bitcoin, like I don't think I would have hope for the future. So it like you have to understand, like, and here's the thing, the Cantillionaire Conference is already releasing the propaganda to like make you okay with that. They're literally telling you you'll own nothing and be happy. Fuck that. I want to own something and be happy. So yeah, like I'm sorry, they shot the bed. What was the quote by Ron Paul? You know, it's not a coincidence that the century of central banking is also the bloodiest century in human history. I completely fundamentally agree. So yeah, governments, you had it, you had an opportunity and you shat the bed multiple times over and over and over again. What does Javier Milei of Argentina says? No hay plata. There is no money, right? So yeah, no, it's time to try something new. Of course, you know, the people that benefit from that money printer, the statists, the central planners, of course, you know, they're going to be upset with this. So anyways, I do want to give a shout out to
one more thing I want to say, because it's on this point. You know, there is only one permissionless money in the world. There's only one money that you don't need the favor of the emperor to and be involved with it. Like you don't need to ask anyone. You don't need a middleman. You can't print more of it. Like there's only one money in the world that is immune to the debasement of the currency, of the money by governments, and that is Bitcoin. And I don't know about you, but I much prefer using a money that is not controlled by a government, that's not controlled by a specific organization. That's why Bitcoin is freedom money, is because there's no one that you have to go to and ask permission to use it, or, you know, you can't create more of it. Like there's only one freedom money in the world, and it is Bitcoin. Anyways, go on, Nico.
100%. No, I think you said it beautifully. Anyways, guys, if you are watching the show, it really helps us if you smash the like button on YouTube, on Twitter, on Rumble. You know, We've been having great live streams these last couple days. If you're on the go and you can't make the video show, you can't watch it for some reason, let's say you're driving or something like that, you could always find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Fountain. Really appreciate us. I really appreciate if you leave us some good reviews. Helps push the show forward. Of course, if you guys like the show, right? So we appreciate you guys, and we wouldn't be here without you. So anyways, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the news. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, I made it easy for you guys. You can literally scan the QR code on your screen right now. It will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Guys, it's never been as important as it is today to take self-custody of your Bitcoin. That's how you empower yourself. When you take self-custody of your Bitcoin, not only can you vote with your wallet, but also your feet, right? So take that sweet Bitcoin, put it into cold storage, get yourself a hardware wallet, and of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. It makes taking self-custody incredibly easy. Okay, so I do want to address the topic of today's video. So the ETF has been approved, but you guys are not bullish enough. I'm going to take that quote from CK. Here is a very famous Twitter Spaces that Michael Saylor participated in. Mind you, this was 2 years ago. This was in 2021, November 10, 2021. Holy cow, a long time ago. And let's check out. He says there's 3 things that needed to happen in order for Bitcoin to hit $5 million per coin. Let's check it out.
If you want to do that, then you can get in ahead of everybody else. And if you won't, you wait and you buy in when it's 10x more.
And you think the catalyst for that 10x is it really is the moment that JP Morgan Chase or other big money center banks can custody these for large corporates. That's it. That's the sea change, because there's really no reason why they shouldn't be diversifying the assets on their balance sheet. Is that your take? Because I know that, like, Tim Cook, I don't know where it came from earlier this week. He said something like, I own some Bitcoin, but we have no designs on anything. Or I don't know if he said Bitcoin or crypto in general. Is that the thing? And then
I think there's 3 big. Look, first of all, it's going up by a factor of 10 whether they fix any of the stuff, right? It's going to be a grind up by a factor of 10 just because gold is broken and Bitcoin's going to replace gold. And now everybody in the universe knows they need a non-sovereign store of value in the form of a bearer instrument. So now they're looking, the amount of stories, for last year, people said inflation may be coming, we're not sure. Now the mainstream narrative is flipped to inflation is here, you need an inflation hedge. So it's going to grind up to replace gold. It'll go to $500,000 a coin, regardless of whether they fix these things. But there are 3 things that are massive catalysts that cause an acceleration. And I don't think that those 3 things don't take us to 500,000, they take us to 5 million a coin, right? Those 3 things are a spot ETF where someone can go ahead and buy $100 million of Bitcoin by a security, an ETF security. I think that's 1. 2 is your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. And 3 is I can mark it up or mark it down on my balance sheet based on fair value. Pari passu. It'll be pari passu to the way I'd handle Apple stock, or at least that good. If you have property with fair value accounting, by the way, it becomes pari passu to the way you'd handle treasury bonds on a treasury balance sheet. Treasuries are better than stocks because treasury is property, whereas a stock is a security, and you're capped out at 40% of your balance sheet as security. So it would be a major breakthrough if you saw any of those 3 things. And I'll end with this one observation. I tweeted this last week, but I think it's very powerful. If the banks can hold this stuff on their balance sheet, then a whole new class of investors are going to buy it. People are going to put in billion and multi-billion dollar orders to buy it as a treasury asset. Nobody's going to sell it because there's no reason to sell it if you can borrow against it at LIBOR plus or SOFR plus 50 basis points. right? So you'll be borrowing against Bitcoin at SOFR plus 50 or SOFR plus 100 basis points. No one's ever going to sell it. And then, as I joked, you won't be able to afford it. I mean, you will be able to afford it, but everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. When the banks normalize it, and you can draw a $100 million credit line at 100 basis points from an FDIC insured bank, at that point, right, we're going to blow through the market cap of gold by a factor of 10.
Right.
So I think the best thing is those three things are highly likely to happen. I don't know if they happen in 36 months or 24 months or 12 months, but I would be shocked if it's more than 36 months. And I hope, guys, it doesn't happen in 12 months, because my view is the longer it takes, the more progressive the grind, the more time I have to buy more of it.
And he was absolutely right.
When was this recorded,
ladies
Nico?
and gentlemen, Michael Saylor being prophetic. November 10th, 2021. Those things have happened.
So less than 36 months.
So, a spot Bitcoin ETF was approved. The FASB ruling was also approved. I saw a comment in the comment section talking about what is pari passu. Pari passu it's a Latin phrase, and the English translation means on equal footing, right? So if stock and Bitcoin were treated on equal footing on an accounting level, it'd be good for companies to hold it without the accounting nightmare. And this changed, by the way. It was announced actually in December 13, 2023. We covered it on Simply Bitcoin Live when it happened. So this is crazy, historic moment. Now, the third thing that Michael Saylor said that needed to happen was banks having the ability to custody Bitcoin for their clients. Opti, I'm letting you right now. The news segment is going to run a little bit long today because I have a lot to cover.
That's cool. That's cool.
But this is crazy, historic moment. Now let's go through it. Franklin Templeton, literally their thing on Twitter is Benjamin Franklin with laser eyes. Like, could you have ever imagined this? This is absolutely nuts, guys. I mean, Opti, you've been here a minute, right? We've been here a minute. It's my 8th year, it's your 7th year. Like, dude, could you have ever imagined that Bitcoin legal tender happening? Public companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now it's literally the Bitcoin IPO today. Like, this is crazy. This is nuts. I can't believe how far we've come. Here is Max Kaiser. Really, and I agree with this, by the way. Lop, who's the CTO of Casa, said today is the end of the beginning for Bitcoin. The middle will mark the biggest explosion in market cap with huge gains for Bitcoin again. And I completely agree. This is the beginning of the end. This is the end of the beginning. Like, we're no longer in the innovator or the early adopter phase. Wall Street is here, right? They're not quite here. We'll get into the details of that in a second. But this is extremely, extremely exciting. Here's Adam Back's takes on what has been happening with the spot Bitcoin ETF. He goes on to say, so TradFi let the Bitcoin Apex Predator into their China shop. Doors open in 24 hours, supply squeeze, volatility, 24/7 high leverage. With the ETF market makers and APs have enough liquidity, or will things get crazy? Everything hits spot in a supply squeeze, and spot is thin. Spot is thin, and he goes on to GIF with a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and Adam Back says Bitcoin Apex Predator on the trading floor. Let's go. I completely agree. This is a really, really useful graphic. This was when the spot gold ETF was approved in November of 2004. Take a look at what happened to the price shortly after, right? Now, we'll get into the details and we'll compare, because I think it's the best comparison, how long it took for these institutions to start, because it was approved, but that doesn't mean that, like, for example, Merrill Lynch or Vanguard are offering it to their clients yet. That takes a while. That takes some time, right? So we'll get into the details of that. The ramp up just isn't overnight. So here's another example. BlackRock actually tweeted this out, and BlackRock is recommending this. Bitcoin performance compared to major assets like Come on now. Cumulative 315,000%, annualized 124%. So BlackRock is even telling you, like, look, Bitcoin is the thing. Like, Bitcoin is where it's at. Absolutely crazy. Now, before I get into the saltiness of the approval from Gary Gensler and some of the SEC commissioners, as well as other SEC commissioners that were actually pretty hyped that it got approved. I do want to cover this because I believe it is important. So some news came out and I did a little bit of research, and I'll read you guys something that I found out, which is it seems like other financial institutions are not yet offering this. So here's Neil Jacobs. He says, I have a retirement account with Vanguard. I called them and they said they will not be offering any of the Bitcoin ETFs. I'm working on transferring assets out of there, and then I will close my Vanguard account. Terrible business decision by Vanguard. Here is Stephen Lupka. Stephen Lupka is the head of Swan Private, also a great guy. Worked with him a lot while I was at Swan. He goes on to say Vanguard, Citi, Merrill, Edward Jones, UBS are all being reported to not allow clients to trade the ETF. Now, I did a little bit of research of why that is happening, and I'll read you guys what I discovered. So I believe that this is a report from Bitwise. Yes, it is a report from Bitwise. And it goes on to say, everyone wants to know how much money will flow into Bitcoin ETF. That's hard to say. I've seen long-term flow estimates of 30 billion to 200 billion. But one thing we do know is that the flows won't come all at once. In fact, it's more likely that they will build over time. It goes on to say, here are so the inflows for gold. So it was approved. The gold spot Bitcoin ETF was approved in 2004. The first year was 1.5 billion. The second year in 2005, it was 3.3 billion. 2006, 4.8. 2007, 5.6. 2008, 11.2 billion. 2009, 19 billion. You guys get the point, right? So it wasn't this like all at once flood. It started to trickle in. Now he goes on to say, and I think here's the sauce, here's the signal and all this. There's a reason for the slow buildup. For instance, although ETFs make it easy for many people to invest in an asset, they aren't automatically approved on all platforms. It takes time, for instances, for conservative wirehouse brokerages like Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch to approve new ETFs. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, like, okay, but they're not going to improve it. Well, this is why the Neil Jacobs tweet is so important. My ladies and gentlemen, that is market forces doing what market forces do best, right? That is literally market forces saying, oh, you're not going to improve it? I'm going to take my business somewhere else. So they can only grandstand and do this for so long until they continue to lose customers, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And now the other thing, Opti, do you have any comments on this before I move on to the next section?
No, I mean, I think this is par for the course. Like, you'd have to be asleep or not thinking critically if you think that the banks aren't going to fully embrace Bitcoin. And it's just a matter of time until everyone out there realizes that they need some Bitcoin ETF exposure. It wasn't going to happen overnight, but continue.
100%. Okay, so let's talk about how the SEC reacted to this. Now, what's absolutely crazy, guys, is that Larry beat Gary. Larry kicked Gary's metaphorical ass, right? Clearly, the Biden administration, clearly the SEC did not want to approve this, but they were under so much pressure from these institutions that they literally they couldn't stop it. They literally could not stop it. They lost on the court level. They lost, like, the administrative state, the government forces that were against the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF. They could not stop it. That doesn't mean that they weren't salty approving this thing. And that tells me, and that actually gives me a little bit of hope, that, yeah, governments are going to have a hard time. Like, they're going to have a hard time. Like, unless you're in like communist China, where it's like a total dictatorship. If you live in a country that has somewhat of a democracy, as much as the government does not want to approve it, they're going to have a really hard time because the market forces are going to want it so bad. So let's take a look at, the Gary Gensler wrote this entire response. Essentially, what his comments were on the, here it is. Sorry about that. He wrote an entire response on what his comments were on, the approval of this. They handled it terribly. Like, the day before, they tweeted out it from the SEC account. The SEC account was hacked. In the past, they were like, don't trust any information unless it comes from the SEC. Their account gets hacked. Then they blamed Twitter. Then it was discovered that it's because they didn't have their 2FA on. Like, and then they were telling people to turn on their 2FA. Like, they don't take responsibility. It's like, rules for thee, but not for me. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy. So he did write like his, a statement. He was very, very critical, salty. Here's Nick Carter. I think this is like the best part of this. And I love Nick Carter's comments. I used to flip the board over when I lost Risk or Monopoly, even if I wasn't this sore of a loser. And here's what Gary Gensler had to say. Though we're merit neutral, I would note that the underlying assets in the metal ETPs have consumer and industrial uses, while in contrast, Bitcoin is primarily a speculative volatile asset that's also used for illicit activity, including ransomware, money laundering, sanction evasion, and terrorist financing. While we approve the listing and trading of certain spot Bitcoin ETPs shares today, we did not approve or endorse Bitcoin. Investors should remain cautious about the myriad of risks associated with Bitcoin products whose value is tied to crypto. Bro, and again, like ransomware, money laundering, sanction evasion, terrorist financing. Ladies and gentlemen, 99% of illicit finance is done through the traditional financial system. So like, what is he doing? Like, it is, and this is like a totally Elizabeth Warren, just like, okay, we have to say something, like I have to go back to this Opti. This is Elizabeth Warren. This is right now. Terrorist financing, ransomware, illicit finance, like, oh, fine, it's approved. Like, it's so ridiculous. Anyways, and here's the legendary Beautyon, founder of Azteco. Great no KYC way of acquiring some sats. Before I read what he has to say, I do want to read some comments from SEC Commissioner Crenshaw. And it goes on to say, I am deeply concerned. And of course, this is commenting on, on the ETF approval. I am deeply concerned about today's actions. I am concerned that these products will flood the markets and land squarely in the retirement accounts of U.S. households who can at least afford to lose their savings to the fraud and manipulation that appears prevalent in the spot Bitcoin markets and will impact the ETFs. I am concerned that today's actions will create the imprimatur of commission approval and oversight of the underlying spot markets when really no such oversight exists. I am concerned that there will be confusion about what exactly these products are. They are not ETFs registered under the Investment Company Act of 1940, the ubiquitous products that today are used by millions savings for retirement, and that investors may infer protections that do not in fact exist. I'm concerned about what comes next, what new, potentially more speculative products bearing greater risks of investor harm seek to list. We will hear a chorus of well-heeled voices saying that the SEC's hands are tied by the new standards that we have set. I fear that today we are setting ourselves up for tomorrow's failure, and it will be the investors that we have a duty to protect who will ultimately pay the price. Okay, I want to focus on the last part. I fear that today we are setting ourselves up for tomorrow's failure, and it will be the investors that we have a duty to protect who will ultimately pay the price. The first spot Bitcoin ETF was introduced 10 years ago. You know what the price of Bitcoin was 10 years ago? $100. Are you protecting the people that you say you're protecting? Are you protecting them from the ravages of inflation? Are you protecting them from that? I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with the fact that once people get a whiff of the power of saving in Bitcoin, not trading Bitcoin, the power of using Bitcoin as a savings mechanism, it reveals the scam of fiat money. And I think that's what this is about. I think that's why the current administration fought so hard. I think that's why Elizabeth Warren fought so hard. I think that's why Gary Gensler, that we know was working with Elizabeth Warren, colluded with Elizabeth Warren, fought so hard against that. That's what this is about. This whole message was literally about trying to protect the government's privilege of being able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And you can connect it with this, and you can connect it with this. It's the same wording. That's what it's about. Because if you actually look at the numbers, what has actually happened over the last 10 years, this would have done wonders for investors. It would not have hurt investors. So again, I'm calling bullshit here. Okay, moving on. Nick Carter points out something really well. He says it was the judicial system that did this despite the best efforts of the executive branch. The courts are our friends, right? Because it makes sense. Like it didn't make sense why they weren't approving this. Here's Tom Emmer. Tom Emmer is the GOP majority whip, and he says, here to stay. This is a result of an emerging industry fighting for the future of this country, for the future of this country against tremendous odds and prevailing over the tyrannical bureaucratic roadblocks. 100%. Now, here is really, the cherry on top, and I think the best saying, and this is from an SEC commissioner. Now, what's really interesting, guys, and I'm going to point this out, okay? And once again, guys, you guys know that we are apolitical on Simply Bitcoin. I want to emphasize this enough. I can't emphasize that enough. But those comments from Gary Gensler and from the other commissioner, they're both Democrats. The comment from Hester Pierce, she's a Republican. In Senator Warren's bill that's in Congress right now, that would be a de facto ban on self-custody in the mining industry. Even though it's a bipartisan bill, the vast majority of those 20 senators, I think it's like 2 or 3 Republicans, the vast majority of them are Democrats. So it's not black and white, clearly. And you guys know that we don't believe in the traditional party system. We don't lean red or blue. We lean orange versus green. But it is troubling concern. It is a troubling concern. So if you live in a state, right, I suggest that you look up who your senator is and who's your representative. And if they are against Bitcoin, they're against you holding a money that cannot be debased. Plain and simple. So anyways, I think this is the best saying. And shout out Zach Herbert, CEO and founder of Foundation. They make awesome hardware wallets, of which we recommend the Passport. And he posted the screenshot of Hester Pierce's comments. So first, our arbitrary and capricious treatment of applications in this area will continue to harm our reputation far beyond crypto. Diminished trust from the public will inhibit our ability to regulate the markets effectively. Let me ask you guys something. After the debacle yesterday by the SEC telling you, oh, you should multi-sig your devices. The other thing that they said, you should you should only trust what the SEC has to say. And then their tweet is literally a tweet that manipulates the market. What is that but not diminishing the trust from the public, right? This saga will taint future interactions between the industry and our staff and will dampen the rich, informative dialogue that best protects investors. Second, our disproportionate action on these filings has diverted limited staff resources away from our mission critical work. Over 10 years, likely millions of dollars of staff time has gone towards blocking these applications. We've been making the case on Simply Bitcoin for a very long time that we believed that the reason that they're blocking this was for political reasons. If that is not a smoking gun, I don't know what is. Goes on to say, third, our actions have muddied people's understanding of what the SEC's role is. Congress did not authorize us to tell people whether a particular investment is right for them. But we have abused administrative procedures to withhold investments that we do not like from the public. That's executive action. That's not democracy. And you always say that it's democracy. It's democracy. First of all, America is not a republic. Democracy is a republic. It's a representative republic. But put that aside. Fine. That ain't democratic. That's like a dictatorship, right? Like it's like we agree with this, we don't agree with this. Like that's the problem. Fourth, by failing to follow our normal standards and processes in considering spot Bitcoin ETPs, we have created an artificial frenzy around them. Absolutely true. Had these products come to market in the way other comparable products typically have, we would have avoided the circus atmosphere in which we now find ourselves. 100% true. Fifth, we have alienated a generation of product and innovators within our space. Our unreasonable approach to these applications have signaled that regulatory prejudice against these new products and services can lead us to sidestep the law and unreasonably delay product launches. The industry has logged hundreds of meetings, has filed submissions, withdrawals, and amendments, and ultimately had to resort to a costly legal battle to get us to today. So I got to say this. Is this truly a government by the people for the people? I do not believe that's possible as long as fiat money is a thing. What this signifies to me is that this is a government that is more interested in protecting their privilege. That's what I'm seeing here. At least some people are aware to that. At least some people in government, some representatives in government are aware to that. Now, lastly, before I pass it on to Opti, I think Beauty On said this perfectly. Beauty On said this beautifully. That's very fitting. So Crenshaw started with the phrase, I am deeply concerned. So Beauty On did the same thing. I'm deeply concerned. I am concerned. I am concerned. I am concerned. And investors may infer, I am concerned. I fear. We are setting ourselves up for failure. No American talks like this. America could not have been founded if the people who took risks to sail to her shores thought like this. Even after 100 years, Crenshaw would still be terrified of Bitcoin and of any change to what he already barely understands. If Crenshaw were in charge of anything, you would still be sending telegrams sent by Morse. America is not Europe. It is a country of explorers and risk takers. That's why she is so great. Does Crenshaw really think that a Bitcoin ETF crash could be bigger than the biggest crashes that have come and gone and that everyone survived? What sort of America does Crenshaw really want? One that has no risk, no innovation, no experimentation? How does Crenshaw think America got to the moon and back from drawings on paper? If Crenshaw is terrified of Bitcoin, he should use his fear of it as a market signal and offer services to investors where they're guaranteed of insulation from exposure to it. Anyone who is fearful like him can profit from fear while everyone else who wants the risk can take it. Why does Crenshaw think his fearful, ignorant, and cowardly opinion should override the thinking of every other American in the US? Who made him the boss of all these markets? Why is his personal fear the gold standard by which everyone else must live? It isn't. Crenshaw is a template personality for anti-Bitcoiner, anti-Americanism. If the American system works, he can have his opinion, but it can't prevent anyone from experimenting in the market. If Crenshaw wants to live in an EU-style undemocratic society, he should move to the EU where innovation is dampened and squashed, and he can feel safe leaving America to Americans. And he can watch Americans go to the moon with Bitcoin and then go to Mars with Elon Musk's on laptops invented in America. As a first-generation immigrant, I was sold on that idea of America, as America being the vanguard of innovation, the place that you come for opportunity. I was not sold on this Frankenstein fiat motherfucking version of America. I'm over it. It's done. So I'm glad this happened. Historic day for Bitcoin. And it happened. The ETF was approved the day that Hal Finney said he was running Bitcoin in 2009. And the day after, Bitcoin publicly IPO'd. Absolutely incredible. This is insane. This is amazing. I can't believe this. Buckle up, guys. It just keeps getting better from here. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this? I almost teared up, man. That was that beauty on, bro. That's some fire shit. Some fire shit.
I love the Twitter. Anyways, maybe I'm gonna have a little contrarian take to what you're saying, Nico, because I'm kind of okay with the spot Bitcoin ETF taking this long, because it gave us all an opportunity to stack cheap sats, and Wall Street wasn't coming into Bitcoin and able to co-opt Bitcoin when it was still a baby. So I don't want to ever agree with the SEC, basically, and I don't want to say they actually maybe did do some sense of protecting consumers in like not the way that they think, just so that the Larry Finks of the world didn't come in and scoop up all the Bitcoin when it was still a baby and not really spreading throughout society. So I'm kind of okay with them taking this long, to be completely honest, but this does mark the beginning.
Opti is no longer with Simply Bitcoin anymore. Opti is a statist.
No, I'm saying I don't know. Yeah, I maybe the state.
I'm just
did
kidding,
something.
bro. No.
Maybe the state did something
it's
good.
It's good to have a contrarian. What's your no? But why? What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
Well, it's because Bitcoin. I'm blanking on the twins. What's their name again? The Winklevi. The Winklevi wanted to get an ETF approved in like 2015, right? Bitcoin was still a baby. Like, we didn't even go through the fork wars. We fully didn't have a public war or a public example of who actually controls Bitcoin. In 2016, 2017, the thought was that businesses controlled Bitcoin and miners controlled Bitcoin. And if we had gotten an ETF approved by then, I'm sure that Wall Street would have put the might of the money printer behind whatever fork coin they wanted. And we made it end up in a place where Bitcoin becomes that dystopian tracking tool that we all want to avoid, that we see coming down the pipeline with CBDCs. And so I think in like kind of a backwards roundabout way, the fact that it took this long, and maybe it was political, maybe it was Elizabeth Warren and co., talking to Gary and making sure that this ETF wasn't approved on his watch or what have you. You guys can speculate on all of the reasons why it took this long. I think it's kind of a good thing that it took this long, because now Wall Street has to scramble for the last 1.5 million coins, and most of Bitcoin is in cold storage. So I'm kind of okay with it taking this long. Of course, now this kind of gives us legitimacy. Like, I was thinking when this got approved, like, what would my dad say right now? He's a boomer. I love him. He loves gold. He even tries to shill silver on me sometimes. I'm like, Dad, it is Bitcoin. Come on, man. Anyways, I haven't had an actual conversation with him, but I did kind of text him. And for people like him, and not the cool boomers that hang out with us that know why Bitcoin is important, everyone else, like, this gives us some legitimacy. And they're like, oh, the adults are here. That's why I was trolling and wearing a pseudo suit, because like that's the game being played. Like, oh, we have some sense of legitimacy. We wear suits now, take us seriously. And Bitcoin doesn't need that. But this is where we are. And for better or worse, people do look at authority figures for legitimacy. And now for better or worse, guys, we have that legitimacy now that Wall Street is getting exposure to Bitcoin. So with all that being said, I am also very tired of the nanny state, and that, like, in my opinion, it's really insulting that they, without saying it, they're like, yeah, you're too stupid to know what you can invest in. Like, you need our protection so that, you don't wreck yourself, like, you stupid peasant. Like, to me, that's what I hear every time I hear stuff like this. And of course, it's always about control. They can say whatever they want about, oh, we're here to protect the consumer. And Nico, that tweet you put up yesterday about protecting the consumer with their hacked SEC account, and the market dump. Like, they can't even protect their Twitter account, and they're here to protect the markets. Like, it's just Keynesian hubris, in my opinion. But hey, this is where we are. The nanny state's gonna nanny state, and it's always about control. But now we have the price exposure from Wall Street, and everyone and their mother is scrambling to be the top dog in these ETFs. And like, this is where we are in the story. So hopefully we don't have to talk about an ETF anymore.
No, it's over. Now it's time. It's over, dude. Like, I mean, like, what else is there to say?
Yeah, like, we've been covering it for so long, you know, macro, but
macro.
Yeah, man, like, here we are. It's going to be interesting to recap maybe in a couple of months and see who the top 3 ETFs are and the flows going in. And anyways, we are running long, Nika. So if we're going to do the culture, maybe we should do that real quick.
Let's absolutely do the culture. But first, I do want to give a shout out to Max. They are the most trusted place to buy, sell, host mining equipment. If you're interested in getting into Bitcoin mining, you guys got to check out Kaboomrex. I made it super easy for you guys. You have no excuse. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It will take you directly to the Kaboomrex marketplace, where you could connect with a member of their awesome sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your Bitcoin mining ASICs with them. You could access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with them. What are you waiting for? Start your Bitcoin mining utopia today with Kaboomrex. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
All right, guys. So I'm going to do this quick since the news was very long. But anyways, I said I wanted to kind of talk about the framing here and what us Bitcoiners think. And this is the culture anyways. So we're going to tell you what we think. This is the point of this, what I think the best things to be doing. So shouts out to my boy, Dom Bay. He tweeted this morning: Bitcoin is front and center. Homepage for BlackRock, Bitwise, VanEck, and Templeton. And you guys can see the screen share here. You know, BlackRock, their iShares, everyone's pumping their ETFs.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
You know, they're all on the first page. It's front and center. We're getting Wall Street marketing Bitcoin. On one hand, you love to see it. On the other hand, you shouldn't be buying the spot Bitcoin ETF. Take Bitcoin into custody. This is basically what the rant's going to be today. But anyways, last week we saw this come out from the Financial Times, an opinion piece. This guy said, my New Year's resolution is Bitcoin. So we're seeing already that people, just with the quote unquote legitimacy of the BlackRocks, the institutions, Wall Street's, getting into Bitcoin and wanting exposure of Bitcoin, and of course, you know, the regulatory attempt to capture Bitcoin. Good thing most Bitcoin is in custody, and they can't stop Bitcoin. Yes, they can try to put a wrapper on it and try to funnel as much Bitcoin as possible, but they're going to try to, you know, pump up the price and force you to sell your Bitcoin via incentives. Anyways, we were all kind of talking about what was going on with the Bitcoin price. Of course, I don't like to show the charts too much here, but it seemed like it was a sell the news story, or did pump to like 49K this morning. I think what most of us didn't realize, or rather most people out there didn't realize, is like all the flows of capital aren't going to overnight go into Bitcoin. Like your parent, like I'm seeing people in the chat say, like, now my dad wants to buy some Bitcoin. So this process is going to take a little bit, where people now are going on, I don't know, BlackRock, VanEck, all the websites now of Wall Street. And they're like, oh, wow, okay, a Bitcoin ETF just got released. Cool. Maybe I need to look into this. This is that market signal showing that, hey, Bitcoin has some legitimacy. It's maybe not just for criminals and money launderers and shadowy supercoders and whatever they call us. But I think what we're missing is summed up great in this tweet. Shouts out to Charles Edwards. He goes, the ETF news is massive, but no one is even talking about Bitcoin's biggest halving ever on roughly April 19th, 2024. It's just 3 months away, and it will be the first time that Bitcoin becomes harder than gold, which historically has been the best store of value. So as we know, we're going into the halving. It's a couple months away. The ETF is cool. It's obviously been a lot of speculation. And if you're looking at the price, it's kind of a nothing burger right now. I think it'll just be a slow delay of people getting their capital into Bitcoin. We're seeing a dump right now because I think people are dropping from GBTC into other ETFs. And we got CPI numbers today, and it seems like the whole market's in negative. Anyways, shouts out to Marty Bank because he summed it up great. And he goes, TradFi Bitcoin ETF influencers really don't understand Bitcoin. The dollar's complete debasement is inevitable, and people are going to need direct access to the next reserve currency, aka Bitcoin, to operate through the economy. And ETFs don't enable that. And as we tell you guys all the time, this is why it is self-custody or slavery, as Nico tweeted. This is why you run the nodes. This is why we constantly tell you and try to inform you the best ways to take Bitcoin off exchanges to transact peer-to-peer, because what really matters is people holding self-custody. And before XX starts yelling at me in the chat about billionaires and boomers not wanting to take their assets into self-custody, we totally understand this. We totally understand that if you have money in a 401k or whatever, you can't, at least as of now, get exposure to Bitcoin. So of course, some exposure to Bitcoin is better than no exposure to Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned. And so I think that spot Bitcoin ETF, even though it's been hyped up and we've been talking about it for forever now, and we do have the 3 steps to taking Bitcoin to 5 million that Saylor was saying, which was what? An ETF, the FASB rule change, banks custodying Bitcoin, which I personally don't like the banks custodying Bitcoin, but that's a totally other story. Even Hal Finney was talking about the fact in the earliest days of Bitcoin that there will be full reserve Bitcoins and there will be fractional reserve Bitcoins, and the market will learn their lessons the hard way. So, hey, if it's a matter of Wall Street pumping our bags to teach Wall Street a lesson about custody, I am all for this. I'm here for this. But you as the individual out there, take custody of your Bitcoin. Yes, I do think this year is going to be an important year in regards to Bitcoin's price action. Now that we do have Wall Street money being able to get exposure to Bitcoin, I think we're going to see a slow grind up. Again, you know, maybe the response in the price was lackluster, but I think everyone was smoking the hopium and thinking that the Bitcoin price was just going to go absolutely parabolic on the release of an ETF. But hey, we saw what happened after the SEC hack tweet, and all the longs got liquidated. So here we are. This is where we are in the story, guys. So again, I did this as quickly as possible because we are running late. But TLDR, guys, yes, spot Bitcoin ETF gives us legitimacy.
Like that tweet.
Oh yeah, like the tweet. It's from. Oh yeah, simply we didn't retweet. We'll retweet. What I said. Yes, it gives us legitimacy, but you guys out there should be buying spot Bitcoin, not the ETF. Just
real Bitcoin. Just buy real Bitcoin.
Be a pure coiner. Use real Bitcoiner. And like all this noise, this is all noise. This is Wall Street trying to pump their bags and get into the game. And like we're seeing that Wall Street and government officials are trying to capture Bitcoin. They're trying to regulate Bitcoin. And the best way to protect yourself is running the nodes, taking Bitcoin into custody. Yes, maybe your dad never going to hold Bitcoin directly and he just wants exposure to it. This is all good for Bitcoin. And on that note, Nico, we have been getting some comments on our YouTube about you guys watching the channel. I don't know if you guys are trolling us, but you guys say you love the channel and you are asking us to walk you through one-on-one. We have multiple of these. So this is just something we're floating around, guys. Like we give you guys the sauce every single day on the show. You guys can learn how to do Bitcoin for free on the show. I do my best on the culture to give you guys actionable advice. Our boy BTC Sessions is doing tutorials on how to do this correctly, but we understand that people are afraid. So I don't know, let us know in the chat or in the comments of YouTube if you guys would want us to give you one-on-one hand holding here and showing you guys how to take Bitcoin into custody. But like I do my best to show you guys for free on the channel. And this is what you need to do, guys. Yes, Bitcoin ETF is cool. Yes, we're going to have the Wall Street marketing team market Bitcoin, and now everyone and their mother will know Bitcoin. They'll at least be exposed to the signal. but you need to take Bitcoin into custody. Most Bitcoin is already in custody, and I've been saying for a while, you're going to have to make it through the HODL buyout zone. BlackRock will have to, or Wall Street, whatever you want to use, whatever nomenclature you want to use, will have to incentivize you to sell your Bitcoin. But if you've been watching this show for a while, then you should know why you hold Bitcoin. And again, I reference the white paper like every single time I bring this up. It was literally the first paragraph or the second paragraph in the white paper. The reason for the creation of Bitcoin is so you don't have to trust middlemen. You don't need trusted third parties to interact with your money. So on that note, I would not trust these institutions to custody your Bitcoin. Yes, if for whatever reason you have your 401k and you can't get spot Bitcoin directly, exposure to Bitcoin is better than no exposure to Bitcoin, and I would want that too. But you don't need to trust trusted third parties. If you can, and most of you can, you just buy Bitcoin directly. You either transact peer-to-peer, or you use an exchange, or, you just sell your goods and services for Bitcoin. But you want to set up a wallet that you own the keys, because then you can avoid the rug pulls, and the rug pulls will continue until self-custody improves. So guys, we have the marketing team of Wall Street now chugging along, pumping Bitcoin. And I think this year we will see an increase in price movement, an increase in liquidity and volume going into Bitcoin. And yeah, maybe the release of today of the ETFs was lackluster because everyone thought it was just going to go absolutely nuclear. It's just par for the course, guys. Make sure you're taking custody of your Bitcoin, control the keys, transact peer-to-peer, hold that Bitcoin long-term. It is the best store of value in the world. Anyways, Nico, we are going long, so
we are going long. We have a chat. About 38%. It is like kind of live. About 40% of you guys, 36 votes, said that you do want us to offer one-on-ones to help you take self-custody. About 60% of you guys, I'm assuming you guys are already hardcore Bitcoiners and you already know how to take self-custody.
Yeah.
60% of you guys said no. So it looks like there is a portion of you guys that, could potentially want that. We're going to discuss it internally. It's just, we've been seeing these comments, and then we're just kind of like, that's interesting. I also do want to mention BTC Sessions. He has incredible tutorials, guys, if you're new to this. And you could check out, he will literally walk you through in a video how to take self-custody. He also offers one-on-ones. Anyways, it's something for us to discuss internally and talk about. But yeah, guys, if it's, ETF Bitcoin is captured Bitcoin, it's not real Bitcoin. Real Bitcoin is Bitcoin in self-custody. So learn how to do it. Literally, guys, I'm going to, the sponsors and partners that we partner with, we literally show you the products to do this with. Get yourself a Passport hardware wallet.
I got both of them too, Nico. All right, so you get a hardware wallet, a Passport by Foundation. You set it up, and then you put your seed phrase on titanium. So if your house burns down or whatever, your seed phrase is in
with this hammer. Literally,
this is pretty much all you need to do. But I honestly, in fairness, Nico, I do remember the first time I did my first Bitcoin transaction. Throw tomatoes all you want. I was on Coinbase back in the day, and I think I bought my first $100, and then finally on Twitter they're like, take custody of your Bitcoin. And I'm a millennial. I'm pretty computer savvy. I wouldn't say I'm a computer illiterate. I use a phone. I use an Apple phone, so I'm kind of computer illiterate. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I remember sitting there, and it was late at night. It was dark. I had no lights on. I was watching Andres Antonopoulos, and I sent myself a transaction. And before I really knew how it worked, there was a moment where I thought, wow, maybe I just lost that $100. So I really do know that there is a mental leap. And look, hey, we all know how easy it is to use an iPhone. but there's still like the Apple IT team, you know, like that's still a thing. People don't understand how technology works. And this is what we're all doing here, guys. This is why you're the Uncle Jims for your family and stuff, is because there is a certain learning curve to being sovereign. And we want to help everyone as much as possible. We're going to constantly give you guys the free show. But
always,
go watch, you know, if tutorials scare you, we'll be talking about this, but guys, you need to take custody of your Bitcoin. It is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned.
100%. All right, everybody. That was our episode for Thursday. I hope you enjoyed it. The news segment was long, and you know, we appreciate you guys for sticking it out. If you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to spread the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share Bitcoin share Bitcoin culture, share Bitcoin content, share Bitcoin podcast, share Bitcoin music, the memes, everything. Breitbart said it best, right? Politics is downstream from culture. We take over the culture. That's how we win this. But I think the spot Bitcoin ETF, despite all the pushback from the executive branch, is a major win. The Trojan horse is inside the gates. And
wait, Nico, before we go, congratulations, we front run Wall Street. Let's go!
Give you guys give you guys a pat. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Anyways, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, everybody.